Hey guys, those are Communications. Welcome to my review of another film that Bill Bon Jovi sent me. Silk Degrees, a 1994 film directed by Armand Garbodian and starring Marc Singer, Deborah Shelton, Michael Debar, Adrienne Barbeau, Charles Napier, Gilbert Gottfried, and Mark Hamill. Now, I hate to say this, but I have to. You know me, I gotta be honest about everything. I was contemplating about not doing this review because of the way I feel about this movie, but, I'm pretty sure he probably wants to hear my thoughts regardless, whether they're, bad or not. So hopefully, don't take any personal offense for this, man. Honestly, I thought this sucked. I thought this was the worst film I've seen in a while. It was the epitome of, forgettable. Forgettable, boring, lackluster, lazy. Everything that, you hate about a direct-to-video movie. Lack of effort, lack of trying, lack of anything is present in this film. Now, it's not that it didn't have somewhat of an interesting plot. You involve a sort of, you have an actress who's, a star of a popular TV show, and she plays an action, she plays like a cop in that show. And here, she's thrown into a real life action, it's real now, it's a real action scenario, and see how she's going to handle it. That can work, but the thing is, though, it doesn't, because there isn't really any action until maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes. There's a little bit in the beginning, but everything else in between is just boring as sin. It's like, for example, any of you guys have seen the Horror Anthology VHS. So you have that one segment where it just had the most boring couple in the world talking about their vacation. Imagine that for about, 80% of an hour and a half film's running time. This wasn't even an hour and a half. It was 81 minutes long. And only about probably 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20 at the most, had any action in it. And that action, let alone, wasn't even that exciting. It was rather lackluster and lame. So then everything else in between that is nothing but filler, nothing but talking, nothing but awkward trying to build up chemistry between Marc Singer and Deborah Shelton that just isn't there. One of the most unerotic sex scenes I've seen in a long time, with an absolutely horrible soundtrack that just sounds like they just hired some dude off the street who happened to have a Casio keyboard and just recorded it up with a microphone and said, fuck it, that's good enough, we'll just go with that. You have absolutely, the only moment of excitement, I ever got really, this movie is so lame, folks, that the only time I actually got excited about anything when the action kind of picked up during this boring-ass sequence of events where Marc Singer and Mark Hamill and Deborah Shelton, they go to a safe house in the cabin, in a cabin in the woods, and they just basically, Marc Singer elopes, Mark Hamill and Marc Singer hang out, they just talk. It's like being a spectator on a boring fucking date between two boring people. It is not at all entertaining. And so the only time it ever really picks up is when you have Marc Singer, of all things, throwing cheer in some guy's face. So then I'm like, okay, he threw cheer in his face. He's trying to kill a guy with cheer. And that's about it. And then, he goes back to, screwing Deborah Shelton. And it's just disappointing because in the beginning of the film, I didn't mind the way it kind of was. I liked Marc Singer and Mark Hamill. They played two FBI agents. They had good chemistry, good rapport, and kind of like a buddy cop sort of thing. Well, it was going to be like a buddy cop movie. Okay, cool. But no, it isn't. They're not even... Marc Singer actually disappears off screen and doesn't really do anything for, 20 or 25 minutes of the film's running time, because then we're just stuck with Marc Singer hanging out with Deborah Shelton, as Deborah Shelton wants to go look at the mine or whatever, because I'm tired of being cooped up in here and I want to go explore some mine somewhere. And that's about, and then to make matters worse, because at the beginning of the film, it deals with, there's this killer guy, okay? There's this played by Michael DeBar. He's the Grillo. He's a terrorist. And Mark Hamill and Marc Singer, Marc Singer plays Baker, Mark Hamill plays Johnson. So Baker and Johnson are listening in on a conversation. They're like FBI guys. They've tapped this guy's house. They have a girl that they've, made an agreement with who's dating the Grillo. And what happens is, through unfortunate circumstance, the Grillo ends up figuring out that she's a mole, and they try to, go on to save her, but they're too late because she gets thrown out a window. And Deborah Shelton happened to be there. Her character is Alex Ramsey. And you have other shots like showing her trying to film she's trying to film an episode of her TV show, which we don't even know what it's called. The movie's so cheap, we don't even know what the name of the show that she's in is called. Is it called Silk Degrees? So anyway, basically, that's where you get Gilbert Gottfried's cameo, which is just an annoying director who, Deborah Shelton's wanting to be more realistic, and she wants to do her own stunts, and he's like, no, that's we pay this lady to do her own stunts, and he's just screaming for Pepto-Bismol. That's really about it. It's not really much of a cameo, not really much of a sequence, really not much of anything. And then after her little audition, she ends up running into the same place where the girl gets thrown out the window, and that's when she ends up being put under protective custody with Marc Singer and Mark Hamill. They go to a safe house in the cabin in the woods and manage to be worse than the cabin in the woods. Seriously, I'd rather watch Cabin in the Woods than this movie, because that movie sucked, but at least it did something. Not really much, but something. This is just about, after the first 20 minutes, it's just 60 minutes of filler, 60 minutes of padding, embarrassing moments. Mark Hamill gets strangled in like 2 seconds flat by some hillbilly bitch, and then just left there floating in the river in a horrible Steadicam shot. They're like, great, Mark Hamill gets knocked off way too easily in this film, and rather pathetic. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It really is. Charles Napier has a nothing role where he's just a double-crossing boss of Marc Singer and Mark Hamill who sells them out to the bad guy, the Grillo, so, they can find the girl and shoot her or whatever. And the last 20 minutes is the Grillo and his guys show up, fire a couple shots. There's this one guy who can't hit the broadside of a fucking barn. Deborah Shelton gets on a horse and starts riding on it away from the bad guys. This guy's literally within really close distance, fires off about 5 shots, doesn't hit her, because it sucks. The film's climax, if you want to call it, they end up where the old abandoned mine, where Deborah Shelton and Marc Singer were trying to elope earlier, and what happens is Marc Singer gets in a lame fight with a dude who can't shoot, and he ends up shooting a gas tank, and then Marc Singer, the guy keeps talking shit before he, it's like, I'm gonna enjoy killing you, Baker. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna enjoy killing him if you can even hit him, because they even chased after him in the mine earlier, and he's shooting like 6 shots at close range and hits jack shit. Oh, except he does hit Singer in the leg, so he finally hit 1 out of 10 million shots, and then he ends up saying, I'm gonna enjoy this, Baker. And then Baker, Marc Singer gets in a half-ass wimpy fight with him, shoots a gas tank. He grabs a lantern that somehow is still lit, laying in the middle of the fucking ground, throws it on on the gasoline, and the guy scream. Once again, another one of these movies where the bad guy has to scream like a fucking bitch before he dies. He throws it and he's all like, ah! Not a very big explosion. You know, your firework display on 4th of July, folks, is probably bigger than this explosion. And then the climax, DeGrillo ends up facing off with Deborah Shelton, with Alex, in the mine shaft, and he basically, you know, Deborah Shelton purposely, you know, dives off of into the shaft, holds on to the edge of it, and Mark Hamill not Marc Singer. I wish it was Mark Hamill, because in all honesty, Marc Singer was pretty pitiful in this. His performance, he was bored, you could tell it, except for the sequences where he was with Mark Hamill. When he was with Mark Hamill, his performance was a lot better. But when he was with Deborah Shelton, he just didn't even look interested at all. And, you know, and his tone of voice wasn't everything. Like, he wasn't even involved in the proceedings. He just checked out. Maybe he was too distracted by her tits. I don't know. But still, I mean, you have Mark Hamill, though. I liked his character. And he gets killed off in a bullshit, bitch-ass way. And then Marc Singer, all he does, you want to know how the bad guy dies, Grillo? Oh, he just drops him down the shaft with, you know, just pulls the chain out from underneath him and he falls down the mine shaft, screaming all the way down. Nothing to it. And then the movie ends with Deborah Shelton, you know, recording her TV show, doing a little more realistic sort of performance, I guess, but not really, and punching, you know, and then Marc Singer giving her applaud, and then they hug, and then that's it. That's it for this movie. You know, this movie sucks. The silk degrees, more like shit degrees. The 6 degrees of fucking cinematic hell. I'm sorry. It was awful. Maybe, Will, you'll like it more than me, but man, I just thought this was an absolute pile of garbage. It was just, there was nothing to it. It's 81 minutes, and I was yawning almost the entire time. I mean, thank God I had my Mountain Dew, because otherwise I would have fallen asleep. There's really not much to it. It's too bad you have Marc Singer, Mark Hamill in one movie, and you should have had like a buddy cop. They should have had more fun with this, instead of being a complete boring waste of time, because it's just 60 minutes of nothing. And then Adrienne Barbeau's in it, but then she probably gets shot in the back. So anybody that you possibly might like in this film dies. Oh yeah, Charles Napier gets shot too, but whatever. He's a double-crossing bastard in this movie, so it's not like I really cared about his character. I mean, it's not much of a review, folks, because it's not much of a movie. Like, what am I going to talk about? There's not much to talk about. I mean, I mean, this movie's so boring, folks. I was commentating on Deborah Shelton's frilly blouse she's wearing in action sequences. I'm like, oh, there goes, you know, frilly over here. It's just very... just awful movie. I would definitely say avoid this. But out of anything, I'm still glad you sent it to me, because for one, I didn't have to pay anything for it, but also because there's actually some good trailers on this tape. So at least there was something, you know, worthwhile. But other than that, it says, the tagline's like, sometimes you survive by degrees, sometimes you die by them. I'd rather die by 6 degrees or 6 different ways of fucking torture than watch this again. This was fucking pitiful. So I don't really know what else to say, folks, so I'm going to rate it out of 5 stars. I would give it like 1. That's for Mark Hamill, and that's for, you know, just for Mark Hamill and the little rapport that Mark Hamill and Marc Singer had with each other. Other than that, no. I did not enjoy this film at all. So yeah. So thanks for watching, though, and once again, thanks Bill Bon Jovi for the movie. Sorry I didn't like it, but anyway, thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you guys later. See you.